Hey YouTube, Jobin here. Time for the next update in the HEST Folder Saga. The new HEST 2.0 came today. Here it is, packaging change over version 1. And just to bring everyone up to speed, in case you haven't seen the previous videos, the HEST folders I got were plagued with recurring problems with the lock. They would get vertical blade play and the lock would slip and fail. And DPX Gear, getting ahead of myself. This is actually the third one I got. I sent the first one back, the second one had the same problem, I sent that back, and got this one. And it was the best out of the three, but it developed the same problems, and I hadn't gotten around to contacting DPX Gear again when they contacted me and said they'd heard I had a lot of problems and they wanted to send me free of charge a HEST Folder 2.0 and have me evaluate it and, basically see if the same thing would happen and give them feedback on it. So, here it is, the HEST 2.0. Let's get the packaging out of the way. Very similar knife. Well, obviously it's the same knife, but there are a number of subtle changes, which I will get into in a minute in a different segment. But first off, here's the old one, and I'll show off the problem. See the lock bar? It's slipping to the side when you place negative pressure on the blade. That's bad. That's really bad. I mean, vertical play, or you get a bit of a clicking sound when you wiggle it, that's annoying, but the lock slipping, that's a whole nother ballgame. And they do have this rotoblock thing, which is designed to keep the lock from disengaging. You could say, well, use that, but something like that, that's a secondary safety feature. That's designed to keep you from accidentally disengaging the lock if you're putting like torsion on the knife or something. That's its primary purpose, in my opinion. The lock itself needs to actually work for a little gadget like this to even be worthwhile. So let's open this thing up and take a look. The absolute first thing I noticed when I opened this the first time is that the lock sounds different. It's a crisp snap when it opens, which is encouraging. The lock I have on this one here, bump the camera again, I'm such a klutz. The lock I have on this one here, I don't know if my microphone's good enough to pick it up, it probably isn't, but it just doesn't sound as beefy. It's sort of a shook noise, whereas this one goes snap. Just sounds better to me. And let's check it for play. None. Well, that's encouraging, but not conclusive necessarily, because the vertical play problems went from none or minute on the version 1 knives to fairly severe. So definitely something I'm going to keep an eye on. I'm gonna try and carry this knife basically exclusively for a couple weeks, and I'm going to check it for play every day or two and see how it does, see if anything develops. Okay, the blade and cutting edge dimensions appear to be completely identical from version 1 to version 2. We start seeing some changes in the handle. This is the version 2 on the right, and the handle is very slightly wider in this dimension, which is probably a good thing. The HEST Folder version 1, it wasn't a problem, but it was a little on the slim side, so that's nice. There is also a cutout here to give you easier access to the lock bar, and the lock bar itself, if you look, has a little bevel on it to make it easier on your thumb when you're unlocking it. Nice little tweak. The pocket clip proportions have changed minutely, but not in any really significant way. The lock bar appears to have gotten wider in version 2. That's interesting. what else? Ah, yes. And the backspacer here has gotten longer in version 2. Also, very worth mentioning, version 1 had a heavily skeletonized stainless steel liner on the G10 side. They have done away with that for version 2. It's just a big old slab of solid G10. Looking at the tang of the blade and the lock engagement surface, again, version 2 is on the right. You'll see that the polished ramp where the locking gauge is has actually gotten smaller. Again, an interesting change. I'm not a folder designer or an engineer, so I don't know quite what's up with that. I'll have to. That's interesting, though. And one other problem I reported on with the HEST Folder 1.0 is the blade edge is very close to the open spine here. And actually, if I run my finger across it like this, at the very back of the blade, I can feel my finger catch on it a little bit. Depending on your finger size, this may not be a problem, but it was a slight issue. And on version 2, perhaps due to the slightly wider handle and possibly changing a few angles in there, I can't touch the blade at all. So that's really good. Overall, the HEST Folder 2.0 makes a good first impression. However, I do have to say that the problems with the previous ones I had did not really start to show themselves till a couple days in. So I will be carrying and using this knife every chance I get, and I'll report to you folks with any of my findings and do a full review down the road. Now, thank you guys very much for watching, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your day. Oh, also, check it out. They sent me a bit of DPX Gear swag here. T-shirt, Mr. DP. Cool, huh?